in a tragedy that happened in Iran during the week under review, where a helicopter carrying the president of that country and some other cabinet members crashed. And unfortunately, sadly, the president and all others on board lost their lives, changing the trajectory of that country at this critical moment, in view of the fact that the country is at loggerheads with the international community and sanctions here and there. Let's look at the events that occur, talking about the helicopter crash. What really happened?
Well, first and foremost, we must express our heartfelt sympathy with the Iranian citizens over the loss of their president, President Ibrahim Raisi, and his foreign minister, Hossein Abdrab. And of course, that death was a national catastrophe that happened to Iran, and it came at a time when the country was going through a trying period. If you recall, Iran has been under sanction imposed on it by the Western world over the years, and this sanction, despite the country's effort of trying to see it swim above water, the effect of the sanction can seemingly be seen for an emerging superpower that has, to some extent, retarded the development of Iran in terms of its warfare, in terms of weaponry, and even technologically. But to some extent, the country have tried as much as possible to realize its potentialities by looking inwardly and trying to see what it can create for itself. Iran has been going through sanctions since the 1980s during the Islamic Revolution that took place in 1979, led by Khomeini Ayatollah. Ayatollah led that revolution when he usurped the then Iranian king, and of course put in place an Islamic state. And the intention was not hidden from anybody. The idea was to create a complete Islamic state that will be ruled according to the tenet of Islam. But that didn't go down well with the Western world. Hence, Iran became a focal point of the Western world and the subsequent sanctions imposed on that country. Today, Iran has nuclear potentialities. And of course, you know what happened after it declared its nuclear potentialities. More stiffer sanctions were imposed, especially around the cells of uranium, which is one of the sine qua non for the development of nuclear weapons. And of course, since that time, it has gone through that effort, that turbulent period, and you know, it also had a lot of issues with its long-term force, the Israelis. And the president, Ibrahim Raisi, of course, is an individual who belongs to the school of thought of the Iranian revolutionary leader, Imam Khomeini Ayatollah. And that is why, since he assumed office, he had tried as much as possible to restore the strict Islamic laws in that country. Even as foreign countries are trying to dabble into the internal affairs of the country, they were able to hold their own and dealt decisively with anybody who tried to jeopardize their rules, their internal rules. Of course, we know just last year when a certain woman who insists on going out without veil was incarcerated and she lost her life under the custody of the security personnel. And of course, you know, even the Israelis, when they make an attempt, when they bomb the Iranian embassy, and the Iranians were sure it was the Israelis that did that, the Iranians had the guts to attack Israel. That tells you their potentialities, and they've not hidden their desire to go to war with any country that tries to dabble into their affairs or even attack their interests. Ibrahim Raisi died in a helicopter crash along the Azerbaijan border when he went there for a state visit. Like I said, together with his foreign affairs minister, Hussein Amrab Abdullahian. And Amrab is the foreign affairs minister, but of course there are other government officials in the helicopter too. But one of the matters arising from it is that that helicopter that crashed is 53 years old. 53 years old, 5 decades and 3 seasons. It means that it is an old helicopter. And this is to tell you the effect of the sanction imposed on the Iranians having its toll now on them. Because if a country like Iran that is so developed is having issues with using helicopters that have gone well beyond their stipulated period, I think it is the effect of the sanction. The helicopter itself was said to have been manufactured in the 1970s, and then of our own president Bola Ahmed Tinubu broke down in Holland, that is in Netherlands, and we ran a program here, and a lot of people took us to this word that why should the president change his presidential plane simply because it has gone faulty in Netherlands. These are some of the issues that everybody is running away from.
The vice president
And even the vice president has to abort his own flight because it developed fault shortly before takeoff. So you can see that these are some of the avoidable things that everybody is running away from. And the Iranian leader may have felt that he is only taking a short trip to the Iranian border with Azerbaijan, and therefore may not necessarily need a much more better chopper to take such kind of trip. And maybe he's used to using the helicopter and therefore felt that the trip to the border with Azerbaijan is just one of those normal trips that he used to making around the country. And he's just going to take the trip and come back within a few hours. But of course, you know, what happened is what we are seeing today.
But there are other means of transportation. If the president decided to, despite knowing that this is the true situation of that helicopter, why can't they utilize other means? I know that they have train and other means of transportation. Why did the president insisted on using that particular helicopter, despite issues associated with that?
Yes, you know, when they were taking that trip, he was traveling in 3 helicopters with other government entourage. That helicopter is the one he's using. And then there are other 2 that are also with that helicopter. But what majorly caused that crash was the fog, the bad weather around that border area. And the helicopter was forced to make a hard landing. It was not that the helicopter probably lost control or anything, but it was forced to make a hard landing. One, the fog was so thick and vision was nearly impossible. And because the pilot probably was afraid of going to crash with an object somewhere, because the area also is mountainous, and therefore the best is to avoid going further with the trip because of the bad weather and because of the bad vision. And therefore the helicopter was forced to make a hard landing, and of course what happened, of course, is the life of the president was consumed. And this kind of situation is a normal trip, like I said, that usually happened. But one of the major concern, of course, is the age of the helicopter. It is 53 years old, manufactured in 1972, and is still being used by the Iranian leader. You know, ideally, I believe that even in Africa, African leaders would try to avoid such kind of aircraft. One, because of its age, and no matter how good the maintenance is, definitely age is telling on that helicopter. And anything can happen, and when it will happen, of course, it will not give you the sign. And that is why every mortal is a moron before the agent of his death. No matter how intelligent one is, no matter the intellectuality, if death will come, the victim will be a moron before the agent of that death. And it's exactly what happened from the engineers who are maintaining the helicopter to the president himself, who became the victim. All of them became morons because they could not foresee what will happen on that day.
0903880888 is the number to call in, of course, make your comments, or you can post your comments on our Facebook page, Prestige FM Mina. That is Prestige FM Mina. But some will be thinking, despite other developments, that Iran was able to even go internally to develop themselves in the aspect of nuclear power and what have you, they are yet to venture into the issue of helicopter making or thereabout in order to make things easier for them. Do you think that sanctions against nations has really negative impact on them?
Of course it has, because Iran became an isolated country, even though it tried as much as possible, like I said at the beginning, to live above water by establishing diplomatic ties with so many countries that are anti-West. For example, the Soviet Union, the North Koreans. But these countries have little to offer the Iranians. And you know what the Iranians needed most to improve their nuclear capability. And many countries that are possessing this uranium have been told not to do business with Iran. And that is why Iran could not enhance its uranium content to propel its nuclear weapons, even though it has said that it is manufacturing its nuclear mainly for humanitarian purposes, to generate electricity and other things, and to also support their industries. But you know, the Americans and the Western world knew that once the Iranian industries began to perform at their optimum level, definitely they will be able to be there. They can manufacture weapons, they can manufacture everything. But I believe that the Iranians have paid more attention to more technologically driven arsenals than their helicopters and other things. So in terms of weaponry, they are there because they have all sorts of missiles that you can think of. They have their drones, they have parcel bombs, they have all sorts of technologies that can enhance. But you know, this is one area that they have overlooked, and that is the logistics of government officials. And the helicopter crash, of course, is one area that they will have to look at. And I'm sure after this mourning period, they will sit down, take a cursory look at what they have done and what they have not done, and try to see how they can upgrade and ensure that their leaders, subsequent leaders, are safe. And you know, this also nearly happened to Ahmadinejad. He was also a one-time president in Iran and was a university student during the 1979 Islamic Revolution, and he participated actively in that revolution. When he became the Iranian president, he also escaped by whiskers from a helicopter crash. And even at that time, they didn't envisage that these are the things that are happening. You know, what causes this particular crash is the failure of the engine. The engine failed completely, just as the pilot was losing altitude. And the engine failure was as a result of the rotor, the tail rotor, refused to roll again. And that failure make the helicopter to lose altitude. And then there is low visibility distance, and then there's also bad weather conditions. So he was flying at a low altitude, and the pilot mistakes can cause accident as well. So when you are coming up with all of this concerning the helicopter, the pilot on himself can equally make mistakes because he is human. And you know, human intellect is fallible. So the fallibility nature of human intellect could be what may have caused even the accident. Because even as the helicopter is losing altitude, the pilot should have known that with this loss of altitude, I should be able to do something in the next 1 or 2 minutes to be able to navigate the helicopter to a much more safer landing. But you know, the helicopter simply landed very hard, and of course, it causes the death of the president.
Okay. 090388088883 is the number to call in, of course, make your comments. You can post your comments on our Facebook page, Prestige FM Mina. That is Prestige FM Mina. We're streaming live on our Facebook page, Prestigefm91.7mx. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning,
Good morning, sir. We are on the line.
Good morning, sir.
Our great journalist.
Thank you, sir.
First and foremost, we'd like to say Inna Lillahi wa Inna Ilayhi Raji'un. Losing our great president and at the same time, great Islamically good leader. So we have nothing to say much than that. May his soul rest in perfect peace.
Amen.
And we pray to recover another good leader that will serve more than him as he served for the country.
Now, sorry, before you go, the helicopter is 53 years old. And you know, our own president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, also had his plane developing engine fault in Netherlands. And when he requested for a new plane, a lot of people were lambasting him for requesting for a new plane in this hard time in Nigeria. What can you say about this?
No, as you were saying, based on my own opinion, I have nothing to say much than that. The only thing is to pray for what happened.
Exactly.
And what will come after that, God should bestow is for us. I have nothing to say more than that.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you. 090388088883. That's the number to call in, and of course, make your comments. Okay, we missed that call. 090388088883. We are taking a look at the death of the Iran president, and of course, in the helicopter that is almost 50 years of age, and matters arising. Hello, good morning. Okay. You can post your comments on our Facebook page, Prestige FM Mina, and on our YouTube channel, Prestigefm91.7mx. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma.
We say Inna Lillahi wa Inna Ilayhi Raji'un to those people that died. Because everyone has his own day and the way of his death. So we put it in that way. May their soul rest in perfect peace. And may Almighty Allah forgive their sins and also forgive us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You see, the death of that Iranian president, and of course, matters arising. Apart from that, it created a little vacuum in the leadership process in that country, which was taken care of.
Yes, of course. The Iranians never had issues with selecting or shopping for new leadership. You know, they have the Shura. The Shura is a council of elders. The council of elders readily selects the next leader. And of course, the Iranians simply vote for him. Or her. And usually it is to see whether he has overwhelming acceptance or not. And that Shura, like I said, consists of a council of elders who are well versed in terms of knowledge, in terms of experience, and they are well respected. They are opinion leaders of the country. And they also select their own leader. And the Shura in turn selects who will lead the country. Like as it is now, election will be held on June 18th, next month. So you can see...
Initially, it's supposed to hold later in the year, but as a result of the death of the president,
exactly,
it was
drawn closer to June 18th. So a new election will be held, and you can see the swiftness with which they want to put in place a new leadership so that the country transition process, the country can simply move forward. You know, unlike in our own situation, I can still recall when President Umar Musa Yar'Adua died, the National Assembly and the entire country was in turmoil.
More like there was no provision in the Constitution.
Yes,
or thereabouts.
that was when they understand that the Constitution was limited. There was no provision as to who takes over when a president died. So, you know,
case of sudden death.
Yes, or something like that. And I think we give kudos, actually did a yeoman's job to ensure that there is continuity in leadership. And Goodluck Ebele Jonathan continue as the president of Nigeria. So I believe that even the Iranians are already shopping for a new leader, and by June 18th, elections will be held and a new leader will be elected.
President has already taken
yes,
over.
The first vice president have already taken over. And
as part of provision in the Iranian law.
Exactly. So there is no vacuum. As soon as the president died, the next person in command takes over. And election will be held as soon as possible.
All right. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, doctor.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Auntie Mimuna.
Good morning, sir.
My name is Comrade Awal Dalaf. I'm calling from Mina.
Okay, Comrade.
First and foremost, tension amongst the Hezbollah, you know, to strike at them. So that issue has been there. But you see, doctor, that is for the international conspiracy side. And in the other way around, doctor, the helicopter that crashed Rashi, that is Bell 212, is an old helicopter as we have stated. But taking into consideration the animosity that is between Iran and the United States of America, sincerely speaking, it is even wrong for the Iranians to be using, you know, either plane or helicopters. Because these are people who have, they are the ones who have manufactured this helicopter. They know the nitty-gritty involved in the manufacturing, you know, process of that helicopter. Anything could happen as regard to the helicopter crash. So it could be a sabotage, it could be a hacker, you know, technology in order to harm Iran, which I believe in their mind, if there is anyone that, you know, has become a threat to them, considering the fact that Israel are not finding it easy, is Iran.
All right.
So, when I look at it from which I don't tend to look at it, you know, as something urgent. That is the planned succession of Ayatollah, who is now aged. That possibly at the end of it, if Ayatollah, I look at it from the international conspiracy.
Doctor, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, first of all, we should thank God for having Iran in the map of this world, because except for the only existing Iran and maybe Russia and China, what would have been seen in the world, it would have been a different thing. And it's too early now to start insinuating whether there is a conspiracy to assassinate the late Ibrahim Raisi of Iran. But coming from the recent happening when Iran retaliated the action of Israel on her embassies in Yemen and Jordan, is heading towards there. We can see clearly there are some aspects of conspiracy. And Iran, not only the nuclear preparations and enhancements, it also have been doing very well in other technologies. It's unfortunate that the helicopter have to crash, as Dr.